right. I think we are live now. All right, I think we are 2 minutes early to our schedule. I thought it's going to take a little while. But even before we get started with the program, good morning and good afternoon all. Welcome to another episode of Six Elements Productions Pop series. So this Piece of Pie series called Pop, we lovingly call it as Pop series, is to get a piece of knowledge from the expertise and the experience in the field, experienced people from in the field of theater and media arts, right? For the audience who are watching us for the first time, Six Elements Production is a Dallas-based nonprofit theater group striving to provide a platform for local talent to pursue theater and media. Our goal is to help local communities and raise funds for the need through performances. We take pride, a lot of pride in announcing that we have been successful in driving our goals and continue to keep so. So for example, like in the first year of Six Elements, we have donated like a considerable amount of money to the retired artist back in India. And in last year, second year of our Six Elements, we raised about like, $3,000 to Mosaic Family Services, which is a women's shelter based in Dallas. So we have been very successfully presenting stage shows and continued the art form through Zoom, even during this pandemic times. So today's Pop series is going to cover the topic called Road to Community Theater, which primarily details what exactly is a community theater and how do you get into it. So it's a lot of information to be covered, a lot of details to be covered in a given short period of time, which is about like 1 hour. So without further ado, we like to get into it. So even before introducing our wonderful host for like a wonderful guest for this afternoon. So I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Lavanya and I'm accompanied by Nasi today for this exciting discussion. Hi, Nasi.
Hi, Lavanya. Very glad to be part of this venture today.
Awesome. Would you like to introduce our special guest today?
Yes, absolutely. So I have the pleasure of welcoming to the Zoom session today, Andrea Avery Ray. She's best known for her role as Gabriella, one of the evil stepsisters in the 2004 film A Cinderella Story, and also the overly excited trombone player, Linda Patterson, also in another 2004 film, First Daughter. Andrea is the drama director for Denton Calvary Academy and an advanced acting instructor for the Fort Worth Actors Studio. She has spent the better part of the last decade devoted to teaching and directing, yet she continues to audition and perform around the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Andrea is a long-standing member of the Screen Actors Guild. She also devotes her time to raising awareness about the fight to end human trafficking. Andrea is a published author. Her children's book, The Feathers of, I don't know how to pronounce this, Vasilia, is another way she helps to bring about freedom from modern-day slavery. Very impressive cause, Andrea. You can take a look inside her book over at www.freedomreads.com. Andrea is married to the world's greatest grill master. I would like to taste that someday. And mother to 3 incredible kiddos. We actually got a little introduction to them during this past week. She loves Jesus, chocolate, cheese, Sonic Happy Hour, and binge watching The Office, hopefully in that order. Her favorite verse is Hebrews 4:12. Welcome, Andrea.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
And we also have Brian Conroy. Brian is an active member of Birmingham, Michigan's Birmingham Village Players Community Theater, where he has appeared on stage in numerous shows, and he had produced over a dozen productions. He
Nasi,
works with a set building on nearly all.
I think we're not
He
live.
sits on, sorry?
We are not live. I think it got disconnected for some reason.
Okay, we want to start all over?
I think so.
All right, that's
This
fine.
is like,
Okay, I'll go on mute for a second.
Technology.
I know, right? Like it's a reason like we like to start a little bit early.
Yeah.
Okay, come on, guys. You can do it this time.
Vasilia? Am I saying
Yeah.
it right?
Vasilia. Yeah. I knew that was going to be tricky for everybody,
Right,
but
right.
for some reason that was the name that was downloaded into my heart. So
Perfect, perfect.
Right, 6AP, 2. 1 second, not yet. It's asking me to put up everything from the beginning. Such a, all right. Okay, probably this is a good idea too. Brian and Andrea, maybe you can switch off your video when Nasi calls, you can come on the screen.
I should do what? I'm sorry.
She's saying you just like you mute the sound, you switch off the video as well. There's like a video camera symbol that you can click on that shuts down your video temporarily.
Stop
okay.
video.
And when I call you, when I call your name, then click the video again and
Okay.
appear on screen.
Sure. You want it off now?
Yes.
Do you want us to click it on during our introduction or after the complete intro?
During the introduction.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, done, going live. All right, hopefully we are live now. I'm sorry, guys, we are having technical issues with the Facebook this morning, and we really apologize for starting the program 5 minutes late. But in any case, like, you know, a good morning and good afternoon to all who are viewing us this morning. And welcome to another episode of 6 Elements Productions Pop Series. Piece of Pie, which we very lovingly call it as Pop Series, is to get a piece of knowledge from the experienced and the experts in the field of theater and media arts. For the audience who are watching us for the first time, 6 Element Productions, which is 6EP, is a Dallas-based non-profit theater group striving to provide platform for the local talent who want to pursue theater and media. Our goal is to help local communities and raise funds for the need through performances. We take pride in announcing that we have been very successful in driving our goals and also continue to keep so. So for the first, in 2019, we raised about like $3,000 for women's shelter based in Dallas, which is called Mosaic Family Services. So we do continue to keep our benevolent act going further. And we have been very successfully performing on stages and continue this art form through Zoom, even during this pandemic times. Today's Pop series covers the topic of Road to Community Theater, which covers the details of what a community theater is and how a person can get into it. There is a lot of information to be covered in this short period of time. Without any further ado, we'll want to get into it. So I am Lavanya, and I'm accompanied by Nasi today for this exciting discussion. Hi, Nasi.
Hello, Lavanya. Very glad to be part of this today.
I'm so excited too.
I got the live video hasn't started yet.
Yeah, they had to start over again.
I think Brian is talking.
Now, Brian's phone is on, but that's okay. Let's move on.
Here, I'm here. There we go. Sorry.
No worries.
You're all right. You're all right. Yeah.
Since Brian is here, you want to give an introduction to Brian Nasi?
Yes, absolutely. We are very happy to welcome to the Zoom today, Mr. Brian Conroy. Brian is an active member of the Birmingham, Michigan's Birmingham Village Players Community Theater, where he has appeared on stage in numerous shows, produced over a dozen productions, and works with set building on nearly all. He sits on the board of directors and also manages the building's house and grounds activities. He has been very active with the Shakespeare Royal Oak, Michigan organization organization also for the past 20 years. Welcome to the conversation today, Brian.
Thank you, Nasi. Thank you, Lavanya. Very happy to be here. I'm sorry that we're in this pandemic period. Right now, we'd be in our second week of Shakespeare Royal Oak. Midsummer Night's Dream has been a nightmare, so it's not happening. At any rate, it'll happen again next year. Everything's on hold, but happy to be here for this. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful, very happy. And I also welcome Ms. Andrea Avery Ray. Andrea is best known for her role as Gabriella, one of the evil stepsisters in the 2004 film A Cinderella Story, and also as the overly excited trombone player Linda Patterson in the film First Daughter. Andrea is the drama director for Denton Calvary Academy and an advanced acting instructor for Fort Worth Actors Studio. She has spent the better part of the last decade devoted to teaching and directing, yet she continues to audition and perform around the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Andrea is a longstanding member of the Screen Actors Guild. She also devotes her time to raising awareness about the fight to end human trafficking. Andrea is a published author. Her children's book, The Feathers of Visalia, is another way she helps to bring about freedom from modern-day slavery. You can take a look inside her book over at www.freedomreads.com. Andrea is married to the world's greatest grill master, the mother to 3 incredible kiddos. She loves Jesus, chocolate, cheese, Sonic Happy Hour, and binge watching The Office. Our favorite verse is Hebrews 4:12. Welcome to the Zoom today, Andrea. Very happy to have you with us.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here.
Awesome.
We have 2 incredible guests today, bringing with them a rich variety of theater and acting and production and coaching experience with them. So we want to explore some of these ideas with both of you. And Lavanya, any ground rules we need to be aware of as we jump into the discussion?
No, just be casual and just enjoy it as we
Okay, and
relax.
Relaxed, and that's perfectly fine by me. So Brian, let me start with you. Since you kind of bring the administrative type of experience with community theater, what is the relevance and importance of community theater, and how it has been so far, that is pre-COVID period, how it has been over the 20 years you've been involved with it?
Well, community theater to me it's right in the word community. It is something that builds and expands a community to be more than just residences and businesses. It's a place for the arts. And that has been thriving well in the Royal Oak community that I'm in. In fact, there are 4 different community theaters within 15 minutes ride from any one of them. And we all work together and share actors, we share costumes, props. We all have a community spirit about it. So it's been a lot of fun, and it is interesting that you said, Lavanya, but casual and fun, because I think that's what community theater is all about, is having fun. And that's what audiences like to see too.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Brian. Mm-hmm. Andrea, anything you want to add to that? What has been your involvement with community theater in the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
Well, I certainly second and support everything Brian said. I think engagement is the word. I mean, community, it certainly engages everybody and brings everybody together. It's so important because I know that as a teacher, I can reach out to my community theater, and I've done it several times, and ask them, hey, can I borrow this set piece? Can I borrow these props? Can I borrow these costumes? And they are so gracious and so willing to give it to me, and that spirit of sharing. And I think if you ever do a play and you're ever in community theater, it becomes family almost instantly, and so you want to help your family.
Yeah.
And I think that the point is they want everybody to be family. They want the whole community to come out and see what they've done. And I think that that's the spirit of theater, is you just want to share your talents, your love, the excitement. And I know that's certainly something that we've all been missing
Yes.
over the past few months. So I think it's highly important, personally, community-wide, everything. I mean, community theater is huge.
Yes. Yes.
For so many reasons, emotionally, mentally, physically. So
that's really exciting answers from both of you. If you'll allow me like about a minute to share a really quick personal anecdote here, and this is how exactly I came to get to know Brian and his lovely wife, Holly Conroy. Holly was a director, and Brian was a producer for this screen to stage adaptation of the story Shakespeare in Love, and for which I auditioned and got a couple of parts. And we actually had our beautiful opening night. We had a preview night, and we did that opening weekend. We did the 3 performances of the opening weekend, and then the governor's executive orders came and shut us down. But even within that short time of about 3 months of rehearsals and the 3-4 performances we did, there were like 20 people on stage in that film, in that story. 20 people on stage, and then countless other people behind stage pulling the thing together. It was an incredible experience. For every rehearsal, people were bringing cookies and grapes and fruits, and it was truly like, it was like instant family. It was instant family, and we formed within that short time some really lasting friendships. I mean, even now our Facebook group is so active, and people keep posting motivating little snippets and so on and so forth. So I totally agree with both your assessment.
Yeah.
This next question I want to pose to Andrea, because you have been a professional actor, and also you have been in the field of training people with those aspirations. How do you see a community theater and community theater environment boosting one's professional or semi-professional aspirations? And also, do you feel for somebody who comes into that field to have an aspiration like that, is that a conflict of interest to the spirit of the community theater?
I am so glad you asked me that, because that is something that I have gone back and forth my entire life. First of all, I think community theater is the foundation. I think theater is the foundation of acting, period. I think everyone, whether you strive to be a film or TV actor or actress, or you want to be heavily involved in the theater only, I think theater in itself is where everyone should start. That's just my personal opinion. And so I think that the best thing you can do is to go out and audition for everything. Sign up for the mailing lists, get on your community theaters page. Brian, you said there's 4. That is amazing. There's 4 to reach out to in a 15-mile radius. Get on every single one of those upcoming audition mailing lists and go to every one if you can, because nothing can replace that experience of auditioning. And the more you know people in your community, the better your chances are at being cast. So play the odds. But I do think that it's all unique to the actor. So if your goal is to just be involved in community theater, and that's really just something you want it to be a hobby, then go and audition as much as you want. If your goal is to be an equity actor, then you do need to be careful about, like, once you strive to get your equity card, you can't go back and do just community theater without it being without running the risk of being kicked out of your union if it's not an equity production. I know that's true for my union status with SAG. I can't go and do an independent film because the #1 rule in the Screen Actors Guild is you cannot work for anything that is not a union production. And if they find out that you did, then you're out of the union. And so it can conflict the aspirations, but it depends. I mean, if you know, you just need to know what you want. So I would say if you're on the border, if you want to get your equity card, but you don't want to miss out on being a part of as many productions as you can that aren't necessarily backed by the union, then that all comes down to your choice. What is most important to you? If you feel like you just want to be an equity actor, then I think you've answered your own question. Then you have to just sit around and wait for those equity shows. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. And you make some very good points in terms of raise very valid, especially when you're involved with professional unions and things like that. You know, you need to be aware of the legalities of the profession too. It's not all about, you know, passion, and yes, passion is great and passion is essential, but you know, you definitely need to be aware of these things. Brian, do you want to add anything to that?
Good answer there, Andrea. I think assuming that a lot of people that may be tuning in today are starting out, maybe wanting just to get into community theater, but I mean, let's face it, if you're just starting out, you probably would love to be on stage in Broadway or in a movie someday. Those are normal aspirations.
Right.
But as Andrea said, go to every possible audition you can. Audition as much as you can. Some auditions are open auditions where you can sit and watch other people audition. Some directors don't like that and they close them. But if you can watch an open audition and you're not familiar with it, that's a great way to see how the whole business is run. How people start out, how nervous they are. I mean, let's face it, you're going to be nervous. So getting over that is a big hump, big hurdle and everything. So you'll want to do that. You know, you need to be obviously talented to a certain degree, or you need to develop some talent. And most of all, I think you need to be able to accept rejection, because boy, that's going to happen a lot. And
Into that.
yeah, you know. So networking is important. You need to know people, as Andrea said, that helps you get along. So those are my 2 cents.
Awesome, awesome. So when you were saying about, like, you know, prepare for the auditions, and can you hear me well?
Yes.
Okay. So when you're saying, like, you know, you want to go to, explore all the community theaters around and, like, you know, keep auditioning it, right? So apart from the auditions, like, I would think like you would want to go with a resume or some kind of a, you know, some marketing material about yourself, like maybe a portfolio. So how do you, like, you know, what is your suggestion to develop a good resume for this kind of auditions? Probably I can start with Brian, since we left off with Brian with the last question.
Okay. So you're just starting out and you want to put together a resume?
Yes.
So that means you can't really list all the shows you've done yet, but you can. Whoops, what happened here? I've lost everybody.
No, we're doing
So
good.
you're able
We
to
can hear
see-
you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We can
well,
hear you. You keep
I'm
talking.
off the screen here for some reason.
Yeah, we can hear you and see you. So
Okay, well then I'll run blind. I can't see anybody. All right. At any rate, what I was going to say is, yeah, put together what your interests are then. Just like a job resume in a way. You want to put together what you think you'd be good at. You know, it might even help to include a headshot. But the one thing about that I've noticed over time is that make your headshot believable. Not some glam shot that doesn't look anything like you, but something, maybe a couple of them.
like your Facebook profile picture.
Maybe that. Think of a way you can do that. So there's some thought there.
Right, right.
Just the headshot will do, or do you think, like, you know, we should having a full picture of a person would also add a value, just apart from just the headshot?
You mean like a full-length picture?
Full-length picture, like, apparently I've heard from other places that, typically in a resume, you would want to put in all your experience with respect to the theater and also a headshot. But one interesting thing which I came across is like, putting a full picture of yours, which reflects your certain roles go on the personality also, right? So is it a good idea to have that too? Andrea, what do you
I think what Lavanya means is like the physical stature.
Yeah.
I think traditionally all those stats are on your resume. I know they are mine. So if they request a full body shot, you're going to see full body shots more on the modeling side of the business than you are on the theatrical side. So I wouldn't get too concerned with it or waste too much of time with your photographer. I would focus more on the headshots. They'll usually request that if they want it specifically, because it should be on your resume. It's usually your name, any union affiliations, and then like your hair color, eye color, height. I know all that's online. And so I wouldn't worry too much with it as far as the full body shot's concerned. And what's interesting is I've learned that now color is all the rage. Back when I was living in LA the first time, back in the early 2000s, it was all black and white.
Yeah.
And now it's all color. So don't waste your time with black and white headshots, folks.
Is that right? That's an interesting.
And I know that in community theater, I know when I'm casting a show, I appreciate people bringing me a headshot that they attach to their resume, but I usually always take a Polaroid of them on the day as well, so that I know I can associate what they look like on that day. And usually that's more of a belly button and up shot. So
Right.
kind of get that on my own.
Right.
As Nasi knows, we did that for Shakespeare in Love.
Yes.
Take a
Mhm.
picture of everybody who comes in, because what you're wearing that day and what you look like is going to help the director and producer, whoever, make
The first
decisions on
impression.
who was that person again. There they are. There's that picture.
Yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah, I would be confused as hell, if I were in that situation of a director or a casting director. At this moment, I want to have a little quip to Lavanya. Lavanya, do you want to encourage our online viewers to submit comments or questions either on the Facebook page or via some other means? Do you want to remind them?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So all of viewers who are watching us, if you have any questions for Brian or Andrea on the topic of community theater and how to get into it, please do post it so that we can ask them here. And I'll be monitoring them and helping Nasi to post the questions. So.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Thank you. So actually, the next question kind of segues very nicely into what we were discussing, how new to the field actor could, prepare a resume and try to get into the act, so to speak. Once in there, how can an actor market himself or herself? Again, Andrea, do you want to take a first crack at that? Because you have, done, professional acting and as well as theater.
Well, the way I do it might look a lot different than some people.
Sure.
See, I don't necessarily a lot of time marketing myself. I just try and network more than anything. I think that that's probably the most effective way that I've approached my career, is trying to meet as many people in the industry or in the field as possible. It's kind of one of those things. I have been fortunate enough that when I started doing it professionally, I went into it having obtained a manager and an agent, and they did all of that stuff for me. Now I have created my own, at one time I had my own Facebook page where I, would go on there and put all of my, movies, auditions, performance dates. But again, it's time consuming. And I'm at the season of life where I'm not as I'm not as devoted to marketing myself because I'm more focused on the directing.
Sure.
And so when I was in the stage of life where I was more aggressively acting and performing, I had people doing that for me. So I can't,
Cool.
unfortunately, I can tell you that what I did is before I got into the union and before I, was able to have someone else submitting me and go into bat for me, I did do everything in my power. I would go to the open casting calls. I would, get Backstage West. I would submit myself. I would go and try and audition for every independent film I could possibly get my hands on. I mean, I was submitting myself every day. I would set a goal. I'm going to submit myself to 15 things. And that made me feel like I was in control of my career. It made me feel like I had a plan. And it was huge. And I ended up getting 3 or 4 independent films on my own before I was able to, secure the manager and the agent.
Right.
Who I obtained through a talent search, by the way. So if you do a talent search, make sure that they're legit, check them out. I don't see too many anymore, but we're talking like 1996 that I did that. So anyway, the business has certainly changed, but I can tell you that what hasn't changed is people can still see and feel your passion, your dedication, and you still can go out. You can, what I tell my actors all the time is go and join as many groups on Facebook or social media as you can that are actor specific, or that is the North Texas, or theater in your local community, because they're always networking in there. And that in itself, I think, is a huge marketing tool without you feeling like you have to go and get a huge profile portfolio or sending things out. I think that is a very cost-effective, if not free, way of getting yourself and your face out there in front of people who are always in communication with one another.
Yeah, beautiful. So finally, kind of boils down to networking being the most effective tool as a way of promoting oneself or getting one's name out there for name recognition. Brian, you are kind of on the other side of things as producer and husband of frequent director. So do you get marketing pressure or self-marketing pressure from the typical community theater enthusiasts when you announce your show? Say something like Shakespeare in Love. So are there people who are knocking your door, trying to break it down? Like, oh, I want to be this, I want to be this.
Holly will contend to that.
I'm sure. Yeah.
We had 55 people show up for auditions for that show. And
awesome.
It was tough. And a lot of them did inquire ahead of time. We make available cuts at the box office. So people can take a look at various characters that they may want to try out for.
Right.
Look at those lines that would be part of the audition process and get them down, maybe memorize them, maybe not, just become familiar and then be ready for the audition that way. But the other thing about marketing yourself that kind of came to mind was showing up at the theater. We talked about that, being at all the auditions, but also asking if you can be involved in other things, like working on props, helping to build a set, sewing. Everybody needs seamstresses for these shows, and working behind the scenes. If you can get a position where you're watching the show backstage and you can see what's going on, wow, you get the feel for it. You will really understand what's involved with putting a show together. So I would recommend that too.
Yeah, so right, Brian, so we really wanted to know, how do one person get themselves engaged in this community theater, right? You're saying volunteering it. So now is volunteering, right, would help an actor also, apart from just networking, is it beneficial for them to know the nuances of how to put up a play together? Or is
Oh,
it,
sure.
oh yeah?
Yeah.
How do you think it would help them? Like 2
I'm
cents?
sorry, I spoke up. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of literature on this topic on how to be a better actor, how to begin in theater. And I think I would highly recommend reading as much as you can from some pretty famous people that have done it. So that would give you the background to get going. And then we're back to that networking again. If you know people that have been on stage and you have those questions, then those are the people to network with primarily.
Mhm.
I hope that
That's
helps.
awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you know, in working with our group at BVP on the Shakespearean Lab, I have seen a lot of that. You know, several people, like say for example, David, you know, came forward to lend a hand with the stage setting and so on and so forth. And he used to share stories backstage. That, you know, that is one of his better skills apart from singing and acting, is set design and setting the sets up, which is pretty awesome.
Mhm.
So I want to twist the conversation a little bit in a slightly different direction now. As you know, both Lavanya and I are originally from India, and we came here, you know, pretty much as adults, as professional adults, and then there is a, you know, acting and theater bug in us that won't let us sit still. So, you know, we try to go out and do something, and we are trying to figure these things out. I suppose you know, a majority of our viewers today are also probably of ethnic Indian origin. So in this context, I want to ask you, when a community theater happens, how does a person of a certain ethnic origin aspire to or look forward to take part in this? And I know in corporate world and in many other professional worlds, there is the buzz talk of diversity, cultural diversity, racial diversity, ethnic diversity, gender diversity, so on and so forth. Has the field of community theater looked into this? I know partly the theater is definitely limited by the script. Script may specifically call for a certain character to be Caucasian, certain character to be African American, or etc. So, but where it is not that specific, have you seen in your experience where you know, community theater has gone for seeking this kind of diversity? Brian, you want to take it?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's going to be up to the director, but a good director will look at that as an option and try to expand the scope of the production to include a more diverse cast. You know, I hate to say that some people are still stubborn about that, but that's the reality. But I'd like to see it too, and I think I have seen it. I know at Birmingham Village Players, we try to get as diverse as we can with as much of the casting as we can. It's tough sometimes because I think in some cases, ethnic origins, people of ethnic origin may not feel comfortable auditioning. We want to make them comfortable. Birmingham, it happens to be in a lily white neighborhood. We have to live with that over us and try to encourage beyond that to say, everybody come on and audition. And you can see that on stage in some of the productions that we've done with To Kill a Mockingbird, Ain't Misbehavin', all black cast there, wonderful production. We've done a lot of things to help open the area up to all forms of diverse and ethnic varieties to come in and audition. So it depends on the director, it depends on the theater. I'd like to think that most of them are getting that way now.
Thank you for that encouragement. Andrea, do you have something to add on the topic? Have you seen in your experience? For example, as a coach and a trainer, are you getting people of different, I mean, Texas, Dallas-Fort Worth area is very rich in its ethnic diversity. Are you seeing people from different backgrounds come to you seeking these experiences, these opportunities?
Absolutely. And I think it's wonderful. I loved what Brian said about just making sure that they feel confident and comfortable enough to come, because again, I know that my community theater is certainly one that is their heart. I mean, their heart is to encourage anyone and everyone to come. And I know that diversity is huge in that they want everyone to feel welcome to come and audition. And so I would just say do it. You know, and like he said, it's up to the director. And sometimes directors don't even know what they want. You have to show them what they want. And so often I have been sitting out there and I have a preconceived idea about who I think would be perfect for this part. And then I'm pleasantly surprised by someone that comes in and completely changes my mind. And so I think my encouragement to you or anyone who questions that, who thinks, oh, I can't go, they're not looking for that kind of diversity in this, go and change their mind.
Mhm.
Show them what you can do.
Love it.
And I certainly, you know, white women in their 30s, we are the most overpopulated demographic in all of the industry. So I say that you actually have a huge and incredible advantage to your background. I think that it's an asset that I wish I had, honestly. So embrace it and change their mind, because I've had that done to me several times, and I love that. And my shows are all the better for it.
Oh, thank you. That's both your responses are so beautiful, and it resonates with me personally. Again, if I could share a really quick personal anecdote here, it was exactly the third audition I ever did to an American stage when I came to you, Brian, for the Shakespeare in Love. Okay, and it took me about living in US about 30 years and doing a bunch of Indian community theater before I could muster the courage to start auditioning for a local community theater, right? And this was the third audition I appeared in, and I had the audacity to try to convince Holly to give the part of Wessex to me. And he's the villain. I mean, he's like the primary antagonist in the play. And I'm like, I'm so suited to this. Please give me Wessex. So, and I totally agree with what both of you said. You know, you have to put yourself out there and you know, yeah, be prepared for rejection. Sure, you know, but I'm glad for the parts I got. Absolutely, you know, as Brian certified at the beginning of our conversation, I made a very convincing tug. So, okay, Lavanya, you wanna?
Yeah. Sorry about that. Like, I do want to ask a little bit more on this question, right? So it's great that, you know, theaters are open to diverse people right now. So, and as you properly mentioned, like, you know, it's also the confidence question for the, you know, different ethnicity background people. Take myself, right? Like, you know, the biggest confidence factor for me, like, the reason why I can't, like, you know, I don't step forward to audition, or even like, as Nasi mentioned, like it took 30 years for him to really explore American theater, is that, like, you know, the accent. So that makes a huge difference, which tells us like, maybe we have like real heavy accent, or maybe we are not suited for the theater in America. So what do you think, like, you know, what kind of a training different ethnicity background people should be taking to get into American theater? Is there anything which you would suggest even before just going for, you know, various auditions? Andrea, would you want to pick it up?
Yeah, I know that my whole thing is I love the accent. I always think that brings such a unique element to the role in itself. But because we are in theater and we do need to understand, I just always suggest anyone who has an accent, I spend the rehearsal time and the warm-up time really over enunciating. I also send them to YouTube. If you guys have never heard of Amy Walker, she is an accent genius. and she can do any accent. I mean, this woman, it blows my mind. And she can help anyone for free right there on YouTube, Amy Walker. And so I always suggest to anyone in my casts who I'm having difficulty to understand, just to make sure that our audiences are clearly getting what they're saying. I don't want you to lose your accent. I just want to understand the consonants and the vowels.
Yeah.
And it becomes about training the theater voice without losing what you bring to the role.
Beautiful.
And so Amy Walker is what I suggest, as well as just really focusing on all of those very odd exercises and warm-ups that we get used to over time. Because again, I think those are crucial to just allowing us to look more natural and sound more clear on stage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just basic theater 101. I mean, and then you can always practice outside of rehearsal at home as long or as much as you want, just to make sure that you feel confident that you're being heard on stage.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Can I know the spelling of Amy Walker? You said like W.
It's A-M-Y,
Mhm.
and then her last name is W-A-L-K-E-R.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. So we got a question from Facebook. Oh, guess what, Andrea? It's Rakesh. So, so he asked, do you have a favorite method of acting? Like a method versus
Meisner.
Meisner.
Mm.
I'm not a huge fan of Meisner. You know what? I have found over the course of my life, I have taken bits and pieces from every amazing teacher, and I have created my own sort of second nature formula now. So I love Stella Adler because she believes in the size of imagination and everything is larger than life. Because I feel like if we limit ourselves to our own emotional recall, like Meisner does, we limit ourselves so much to the possibility of something more. And you can't use that with younger actors who haven't experienced more of life. But I love the Chubbuck technique. If anybody has ever heard of Ivana Chubbuck. She is incredible. I love Michael Shurtleff's 12 Guideposts to Acting. I mean, I have created my own acronyms. I call it my own system of acting, and I have an acronym acting formula that I use for all my students, and I have created it with all of the elements of creating character myself. And I think I've shared that with Rakesh before, so he should have it, but I'm going to send it to him and make sure he has it. But there's certain things that I have just compiled over the years that work for me. I know how I respond to creating characters because I've been doing it for so long that honestly, I feel like it's bits and pieces of everything that I've learned. And I've kind of created my own little hodgepodge of character creation and analysis and breakdown and all that. But I can tell you my favorites probably are the Chubbuck technique and my own system, as well as I really like Stella Adler because I just love her size and the use of imagination, because there's no limit to that, right?
Okay, all right, sounds good. So I have a kind of add-on question to that. So do you recommend, say for example, I'm reading some fiction, so some character fascinates me, say for example like Wessex in Shakespeare in Love. So in our own basement, do you encourage the actor to try something out like that? Try to become that character, in our spare time, whatever. I'm reading a book and I see this character in it. And, if that becomes a movie or a play, I can kind of visualize myself playing that role, So, would you encourage the aspirant actor to try it out? Try to build the character, whether
Why
it's
not?
okay or not.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think it's a good idea, it's all part of the imagination that Andrea is talking about. Use that, emulate what you see and try to bring it to life yourself, make you that person. The question about method acting kind of bothers me because in community theater, I don't think you have any time for that.
Right.
Discipline, that's a full-time job and everything else. You think, like Andrea said, you need to be yourself.
Yeah.
And then let the director bring out what you are or tone down what you're trying to
Right.
rein you in and whatever the case might be.
Right.
But that should be the director's job. But on your own, you see something, go wild with it. I think it's fun to do that. It's all about having fun.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Having fun is a very important part.
Yeah.
Andrea, you're going to say something.
And I'd add that experience is the best teacher and the best training you could possibly ever have. Reading a book, studying techniques, all of that is fantastic, but you have to get out there and do it. You have to try it on first to see if it works.
Right.
And so you can see something in a book that looks like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to try this. This is amazing. This is what I've always needed. But you get on that stage and it might not make sense to you. And so experience is the best teacher.
Sure.
Monologue exercises, probably.
What's that?
Monologue exercises, probably,
Monologue.
right?
Monologue.
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, we have been encouraging our theater folks to do a lot of monologues because that one, as a director myself in the Indian theater, right, like community, whatever theater which we hold right now. So we are like encouraging them so much, like you need to do real monologues. Like otherwise, like you don't know how you can flex yourself into character. Like, there could be different characters, right? So, and that's the best way to, experiment, explore yourself, right? So, and also it will give a good confidence for the director to place you in the right place in the right play, So, good. Sorry, Nasi, I saw, maybe I interrupted you.
No. So I want to change the gears again and take this conversation in a different direction. So one purpose of the community theater inherently is to initiate and improve the community dialogue. As you know, nationwide, in fact, even internationally, over the past few months, there have been really animated discussions, and discussions is a very mild word, animated activity going on questions of race, gender, and social justice. I know we had the Me Too movement some time ago, and then more recently we had the Operation Racial Inequality protests, so on and so forth. So do you see community theater playing a constructive role in this kind of a background? To build that dialogue locally at the community level. I know that's probably a kind of a loaded question. I want to take a moment to ponder that. Andrea, you want to address?
Well, I think kind of piggybacking earlier on what we said, if you create a safe space for your actors to create and to experiment and to discover their characters, then as you do that, you are creating that family that we discussed earlier. First and foremost, saying that this is a safe space. And I think naturally, you can feel more comfortable about talking about those things, integrating those ideas, and trying to achieve achieve the end result, which we all want.
Cool.
I think that we're all trying to achieve, right? That everyone is welcome, and that it's not a place where we're going to come and continue to debate or argue or let me hear your voice, you hear mine. But at the end of the day, we're respecting each other. We're still family. We're still creating. We're still all trying for the same common goal, sharing our talents, exploring our passions, and coming together to engage a community that is diverse all the way around. Did I make a point? I hope.
No, I hear you. I totally hear you. Absolutely. I wish I could, instantly summarize what you said, but I hope we gave Brian a chance to ponder this and respond with some of his own observations. You have had a rich experience in the administration and production side of things. I know BVP does like a special of one-act plays or local written plays. We do a special production of that, right? Within each season. So have you seen some of these contemporary issues being brought onto the stage in plays and in the discourse?
Yes, I have, and a lot of them are in the one acts that you mentioned, Nessie.
Right.
They're great vehicles for that because you can talk about gender inequality, age issues, a lot of, and even some political things are brought into some of the shorter plays. I get concerned sometimes about some of the off-stage discussion that happens among cast members who
Right.
talk politics
and people have some very strong opinions.
Oh boy, you know it, and it's one of those things. And I know Holly stopped a conversation early on during the rehearsal period where a political position was being made, and it's easy to make assumptions that we all feel the same way because we're all in this family together.
Right.
But not everybody does.
Right.
You are on the same stage together. You're all making the same play together. So let's just put all that political stuff aside and talk about the important part of the play.
Right.
Which may or may not have anything to do with social justices of any sort, but some plays do. We did a few years ago. We did Hair, which is a fun musical production that still has racial and social and sexual injustices inbred with it that are relevant today. Besides, I mentioned Mockingbird and Ain't Misbehavin', a lot of shows like that get right into those issues. We did The Miracle Worker just the show before Shakespeare in Love, and it was full of inappropriate thinking about people who had handicaps.
No, that's a Helen Keller story.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So, very good production, widely received and discussed quite a bit too.
Right. Excellent.
And I think you can address a lot of those issues too. And I love that, Brian. We all are going to have different opinions. But I think if you, from the very beginning, if you say, we may all be different, but ultimately our goal, we are going to respect one another. And if you are a director who doesn't allow for any disrespect to happen over the course of your production, then I think that should always be a huge aim for any director, is to make sure, I know our opinions, or there may be people who don't agree with one another here, but at the table read, you make sure if it is a play that gets right into the heart of those issues, that respect first and foremost is always paramount through the entire course of that production. And that, I think, is one of the huge, beautiful things about theater, is that usually that is respected. And so.
One curious question here, right? So does the community theater encourage the upcoming writers also? Would they be taking their content and playing it too? So, especially, and if they want to come and present their writings, so how does it go, Excellent question.
I think it might vary from theater to theater, but if if you're an original playwright, is that what you're thinking?
Mhm.
Or asking about, okay. You know, in my theater, we do have a group that's dedicated to that. And the meetings for the playwrights are, when they're happening again, will be Mondays and Wednesdays, and that's publicized. And people are always welcome to come in and attend those meetings, sit through a playwrights meeting, and maybe present, if they can get it on the agenda that night or another night, what that play is that that person wants to present. It's usually a pretty wide open situation. I can't imagine a group that would dissuade somebody to bring in a play of their own to have it considered. And again, here we are dealing with rejection again, because that may happen. But, or better yet, at this playwright circle that we're involved with, you'll be given critiques, ideas of how you can improve that play. Come on, rewrite it, come back and let's look at it again, that kind of thing.
Well, that's very encouraging to hear, because some of our group people are like, good playwrights. So just want to see like how opportunities would be opening up for them. So thank you so much for answering that. So I think we are like we just have 5 more minutes since we started 5 minutes late. So one last question, like, we want to pose is about the current situation, right? So with COVID going on, so how do you think theater is going to evolve post-COVID? What would be the relationship between the community and theater, and the nature of the theater itself? How do you think it's going to be evolving?
Well, I think, okay, I'll start. I think we've run a challenge like we've never been before. This pandemic has done crazy things to us, but we all want to open again. And when we do, we want everything to be safe. Fortunately or unfortunately, I'm the chair of the safety committee at our theater. So we've got a group of 10 people that have put together some thoughts and ideas of how we can do that over time when we do open again. 10 people on the committee, 2 of whom are doctors that have been on stage. One was in our play in the role that Nasi wanted. And at any rate, great input. And, we want to make the theater itself safe, the building. We want to make the cast, the crew, and the audience all safe to get there. So disinfecting, making sure that there's a distance between people, all of that will be considered before we open again. We're not going to open again until the governor says so anyway. But when we do, we want to be ready and safely doing that so that people are comfortable to come again. And we want to put on plays that people want to come and see. So we can't have these big blockbuster musicals where everybody's singing and air droplets are spewed all over the stage. So we have to be careful of that. And all of this stuff has to be considered. We're in the process. It's a work in progress. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Thank you for answering that, Andrew.
Yeah, actually, I remember very well the serious conversations, both on the side of the administrative board of directors as well as the safety committee, and all the serious discussions you guys had before it was decided to shut the show down. It was a very, very painful decision, I'm sure. So yeah, we actually went through firsthand as a team.
Yeah.
As a team, yeah.
How do you see it in your theater, Andrea? How are you preparing yourself for this?
Well, that's something that I've been trying to figure out myself. I was at a teacher in service the other day, and one of the teachers, she came in with these this clear mask that kind of sat on her chin and went above her nose and went like that, to where she could still breathe and you could still see her mouth and her face. And I thought, because I have been praying, contemplating, how am I going to block this show that is about love and marriage and relationships? I can't block them 6 feet away. That would be the most awkward play you'd ever see in your life. How am I going to achieve safety while still being true and authentic to the relationships? And I thought, whoa, maybe these masks are the answer. I can still see their mouth. I can still see their face, So all of that is to say, I guess we're just going to have to find a way. until there's a vaccine or there's something that we all feel more secure in, trying to get back to the normalcy of intimate, settings and spacing and all of that stuff. So how I'm trying to navigate it day by day, I guess, clear mask. That's my only solution at this point. Because I have I'm having director's block in regards to trying to direct a show with actors 6 feet apart. I just can't wrap my mind around it. So if clear masks are how we can get back on stage again and how everyone feels safe and how everything is, then that's what I'll do for now. I mean, we'll just have to, we'll have to find a way, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's the solution that I have for now. That's how I'm navigating it. And and of course, just for me through prayer. So
yeah. I know prayer is a good choice in this time because it's so much of tough times going around, not only for there are a lot of people who are suffering from the virus. So, good point.
I miss sitting in the theater though and watching a show. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'm like, there are so many days where I'm just like, I need to go see a play now.
Yeah, totally. That's one thing that truly breaks my heart about the situation is, the live theater experience, even movies. I mean, I hate having to watch movies on even on a big screen TV, much less on a laptop. I always wanted to see a film in a theater, and not being able to do that, not being able to see, live concert, live music, or live theater. That's what is absolutely heartbreaking about this whole, huddle down stuff. It is, and of course, Andrea, I know you are a professional actor, and we are mainly talking community theater, and it is more of a hobby for all of us. But my heart really goes out to the thousands of professionals who are out there, on Broadway or on things like theme parks and whatnot, in professional performing space. Really, this is a salute to all of them, that saying, we are thinking of you, we are praying for you. Hopefully, things will settle down and, we return to some sort of normalcy. Like Lavanya said, we almost spent a wonderful, beautiful hour. But I do want to kind of go out on a musical note here. And both of you have had a very rich experience in acting in and producing musicals. Indian film in general has been musical, commercial film. It's very, what you would call musical, the hero and heroine break into a song and dance at the drop of a hat without any reason whatsoever. But the Indian stage, especially the community theater stage here, has mostly been very serious topics, very tough subjects, that kind of thing. But Lavanya and I have been kind of, tossing around this idea that we should bring some fun of the musicals to our community theater. So very briefly, if both of you could take a couple of minutes to talk about your musical experience and, what do you see the pros and cons. So Andrea, you want to go at it?
I'll try that one first.
You want Brian to go first?
Sure,
Okay.
I go first. Sorry. Musical. When we put together a slate every year, there's usually 5 shows, and it's the toughest thing is to find the right musical that people will want to come and see, that the actors will want to come and audition for. But and the chestnuts, the old timers like Guys and Dolls, we did that. They were loaded in the audience. Everybody was anxious to see that play because they love it. So you want to do plays and musicals that people walk out of the theater humming and whistling the tunes too. But then there are these other theaters, these other productions that may not have been heard about that everybody wants to do, especially the actors, because they haven't been done very often, you know, and or Sondheim. There's difficult music as that can be. People want to do it, and you know, it's the most popular form of entertainment is to have a musical. It carries the season. So if you have some non-musical productions as well, and you want to take a risk with some of them, that's okay because the musicals will carry us through. So that's the way I look at it. It's the way we look at it at Village Players. To help you get started on the topic, I don't know.
Yeah, I think probably we can make it as another session because like there's a lot to cover in musicals, I believe, right now.
Yeah.
And we definitely will take it as another session with you both on this topic if you are willing to. You know, Andrea, you're supposed to say.
Andrea's making eyes.
Yeah, I know. She's like, okay.
Listen, my heart is straight plays. I love musicals. Like Brian said, they pay for everything. They allow me to do my straight plays.
Oh, interesting.
But
Okay.
because I'm such an actor's actor and a actor's director or director's whatever.
Whatever.
That's where you know, because musicals you got to do the choreography and the music, and you know, it's such a to-do, and it is. I mean, it's beautiful, wonderful, fabulous entertainment. I mean, there's not much that can beat a musical. But for me, I mean, I love breaking down characters. I love table work. I love all of that and analytical stuff. So I'm not really an expert when it comes to musicals.
Okay.
So
All right.
as much as I would love to help you, I enjoy them.
Right. As an audience, and that's about it. Okay, gotcha. Fair enough.
Andrea, I think you tap danced your way through that answer quite well.
Definitely.
But I don't mean to corner you guys by any
Right.
chance. Yeah. But
kidding.
I think we are about time. So we need to stop it like right here. Like what I mean is like wind up. So thank you so much for trading your personal time and like, you know, sharing your knowledge with our viewers today. And also like, you know, bringing in very good insights about like, you know, how do we get involved with the community theater and how different ethnicity background people could be part of it and how theaters actually encourage people like Nasi and I who have interest and like, you know, crazy love for performing arts. So thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Nasi, you want to say a couple of words to that?
Yes, thank you, Brian, and thank you, Andrea. You know, Brian, I know personally, you know, you accepted readily and accommodated the various shuffles and such we had to go through. And Andrea, you also, in the short time I got to know you, really loved your enthusiasm and passion for the field and your willingness to share your experience. That is so rare. So really, thank you. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. Hopefully, you know, we'll hold Lavanya to her promise. You know, maybe we'll repeat this sometime soon.
Yeah.
Before they conclude their POP series, right? So I wish you both all the very best. Stay safe. God bless. And thanks again, right? And thank you, Lavanya, for making me a part of this.
You are part of it. So there is no thank you to it. You are part of it now.
Yeah, I am part of it. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys.
All right. You guys have fun. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Are we offline?
Yeah. Now we are. Brian
No,
and should
they
have
both
muted
left
them.
already. Okay.
Yeah.
They
Let me
thought bye was real bye. Okay.
yeah. So it was a good session, actually.
I think it went well, went fairly smoothly. I had a couple of spots where I had network instability, but I don't think it particularly showed up badly.
No, I don't think so. It was at least like I've been like parallelly watching our live, like you know, to see like if there are any trouble, if there was any trouble, but I did not see any
It kept showing the speaker on the full screen, right?